take you to the broadcast of It's Time with Reverend Nathaniel W. Martin. Here's Reverend Martin.
Thank you, Dr. Blackwell. Let me say Hotel for Baragani to my Africana Studies colleagues and contemporaries and seekers after the truth all. And let me hasten to say hello, good morning, and good afternoon, good evening, but certainly never good night, and never ever goodbye, because I've always personally found goodbyes traumatizing. I said I personally find goodbyes traumatizing. My name is the Reverend Nathaniel Wayne Martin. I'm the pastor of the New Life Institutional Baptist Church here in the city of Los Angeles, and we're located at 8916 South Main Street here in the city of Los Angeles, zip code 9003. And we're worshiping with our sister church, the Shiloh Missionary Christian Church. The Reverend Dr. Della F. Holland is my friend and the proud pastor. This offering that you are viewing is a social justice offering, and every day we are reminded just how far we are from achieving social justice. But yet we must persevere, we must not be slack, and we must not be discouraged. We may find ourselves frustrated, but never give up, because social justice issues are vital to our existence. Someone has said that we are now in an existential predicament to try to see which way we're going, civilization is going, whether the planet is going, we're going to allow the planet to burn up because of greed, or are we going to speak up and protest the leaders of industry who are hell-bent on enriching themselves no matter what it costs the world or the earth, and we must be vigilant. We tend to zero in on the environment, the big E, and the economy, the even bigger E, since we are all affected by this capitalistic ideology of winners and losers, people on top and everybody else on the bottom. And this is what we are contending with here at the present time here, not only in America, but all over the world. Well, let's look first of all at Project 2025, which is a 925-page document put out by the Heritage Foundation to take over the federal government and to fire all of the civil service workers, take away their civil service protections, and just fire them willy-nilly. And that is what is contemplated in this 2025 project, that Donald Trump and his ilk are going to sweep into the presidency, and they are going to begin firing the people who think that they have civil service protection. And when you have civil service protection, you just can't I just can't come in and fire you willy-nilly. I have to go through a process. I have to show that you have been derelict or demonstrating malfeasance on the job. I got to have so many incidents that I can relate to and have you sign those incident reports. And then when I have enough of them, then I can bring you before the committee or commission or firing commission, or before myself if I'm the one in charge. And that's why they could never get rid of what's his name? the old chief prosecutor, Daryl Gates. Bradley couldn't get rid of him because he had civil service protections. And but now with the 2025 project, which has now been issued, and the proponents of this are gnashing at their teeth in order to begin putting their friends and their cronies and their sycophants and their, you get the picture, in positions all over the country. Remember, 25% of the government personnel are black people. And so this again is another hit or a strike against black people. You may as well admit it, because Donald Trump does not like black people the way he portrays himself. If you go back and look at how many times he was sued by the federal government because he wouldn't rent his apartments, and left word with the managers and the rental agents that they were not to put any black people in any of his properties. And he's up in age now. I think he's 78, if not older, and he's not going to change his stripes. If he didn't like you when he was young, he ain't going to like you now that he's old. He's set in his ways now. And that is another thing that we are going to have to think about when we get ready to vote in November. Are we willing to take another chance on a person who has proven their animus and their hostility and their prejudice and their bigotry and their dislike for black people who are called black? And are we going to do the more prudent thing and vote for Kamala Harris? Those are the things that we, as a people, have to consider as we get ready to go to the polls in November. I'm aware that there are a lot of people, a lot of so-called black people, who are saying that they're going to vote for Donald Trump. I believe he has about a 28% about a 28% holding among black people who are planning to vote for him. Some of that can be put to the hip-hop generation that are rich now. They're not billionaires, but they are rich, and they feel that their interests are best served by voting for Donald Trump. And of course, they're going to sway as many of their ilk. I'm talking about 50 Cent, and then Snoop Dogg, and then several others that come to mind. But they're going to use their influence to sway as many of their devotees to join them in voting for Donald Trump. It's a big boost for Donald Trump if he can hold on to that base. And what we must be doing is giving the countervailing argument, as I started out on this broadcast here, that Donald Trump is not going to be good for the nation or for America. He's certainly not going to be good for poor and black people because he has a decided animus. He wasn't good for us the first time, and he's certainly not going to be good for us the second time around. All right, let me read my scripture before I go too far. Ephesians I'm reading, which I read quite often because it fits with everything that is going on in this world, in this nation, and in this government, whether it's on the local or the federal level. All right, in Ephesians chapter 6, picking up the reading at verse 11, put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And please believe me, we are in these times that Paul was speaking of even in his day when he was telling the church at Ephesus, put on the whole armor of God, because you have your enemy as a roaring lion goes about seeking whom he may devour. And you can't say that you can physically attack this enemy, because this enemy is amorphous, and that means he has no form, and you could be fighting with air in a manner of speaking, because that's the way this enemy attacks. He attacks from his position of authority in the government or in the organizations that the government funds or controls. Look at how viciously that policeman murdered Sonia Massey last week. And when you look at the video, even when the two officers were outside, they were speaking to her with scorn and contempt, and she had called them because she heard something outside and felt that might be a prowler, and so they would to be outside. They said they had checked the perimeter. You could see the camera showing them with their flashlight, walking all the way back to the fence and walking around the property. And you see them coming up, looking at this car with the broken windows in the driver's side and in the back, but no prowler. And so that was the way that it should have ended right there, with them filling out their interview card saying that we searched the premises, and there was no prowler on about the premises. But no, this big white boy goes in the house, which he had no business doing because their business was outdoors. And the scene picks up with him, with her seated on the couch, and he's standing over her, asking her to produce ID. Well, she was under no suspicion. She called them for help because she feared that there might be a prowler outside, and she was unsuspecting of the state of mind of these two officers. Both officers should have been brought up, but they are bringing up the one that actually did the shooting. And there was so much wrong with the officer being in her house, and then he's talking to her belligerently, and you can see the camera on the officer that had his camera on. You can see his camera when he looks over into that room on the right. They were not there to search that house. They were there for a prowler. But now they're in the house. And that's why you must never let the police come in your house if you didn't call them in your house. All their business is supposed to be transacted at the front door, and you stay in that house. And don't be lured or seduced into letting the police come in. No, because things can go wrong very swiftly. The Constitution gives you the right to be safe in your person from unreasonable search and seizures. And Like I said, this Sonia Massey, she was unsuspecting. She thought they were coming there to help her. And then you could hear the audio of one of the officers talking about, you got a pot on the stove and we don't want no fire. All right, so she gets up, goes into the kitchen, and now they're still back here in the living room, and there is a counter separating the kitchen from the rest of the house. And then the police tell her that we fearing for our lives. They're talking about hot water. She's asking them kind of jokingly about the hot water, and then she says, I'm going to rebuke you in the name of Jesus. And the man bristles and says, what did you say? She said, I'm going to rebuke you in the name of Jesus. She's not angry. She's not hostile. Very compliant, obedient woman, meek and humble. And then this officer, his name is Sean Grayson, proceeds to pull out his gun, his service revolver. It's on the right side. You can see him pull it out, both hands, and you can see her. She's moved that pot off of the fire, off of the stove, and it's over here. But now she backs up and she says, I'm sorry, and he mutters the fact that I'm going to shoot you in your blank to blank face. Well, then he does that. He shoots her in the face. You can see her hand trying to block that bullet, but he shot her in the face. And then when his partner came, said, I'm going to get my first aid kit so I can render aid. Then the one that did the shooting said, don't bother. She's got a headshot. She's done for. And so that is the state of things. And this was up in Illinois. You would think it would be at least in California, but no. It was up in Springfield, Illinois. And come to find out that this policeman that did the shooting had been at several other police agencies, and for some reason he had been let go from all of them. And the last place he had let go before this agency that he was with now was a municipality in Logan, Illinois. And you wonder how such a person with such an attitude and with all of this record, how was he able to get on the police force and not be flagged? Why was he able to have a gun and exercise lethal force and nobody questioned him? Probably because he was white. And the result was his murder of this Sonia Massey. Why am I saying all of that? Because if the Republicans get in, just like Donald Trump has been able to get the Supreme Court to give him absolute, I don't know if you know the difference between absolute and qualified. Right now, police have qualified immunity, which means if they do something wrong, they are brought up on charges, you have a chance to get a conviction, like they did in the case of Derek Chauvin and others. What was the lady's name that killed Botham Jean? She was convicted. I think they gave her 10 years. She might be out already. But if Donald Trump has his way, all police will get absolute immunity, which means Derek Chauvin would never have been brought up on charges. He certainly never would have been convicted, because people don't like to convict policemen for shooting black people. They always want to give the policeman the benefit of the doubt, unless it was an egregious situation, which under COVID, a young girl, her name was Donnella Frazier, was standing there with a video camera, with her cell phone video camera, and recorded Derek Chauvin with his knee on George Floyd for a length of time for him to be unable to be resuscitated. I think it was about 9 or 10 minutes that Derek Chauvin had his knee on George Floyd's neck. My point is that if they get absolute immunity, Derek Chauvin would never have been brought up on charges because he had absolute immunity. Immunity means that if you do something, you don't have to worry about the repercussion because you got insulation. You know, you got immunity. You are above the law, in other words. So that's what's coming if Donald Trump gets a second term. The police are vicious now, and they will be even more vicious if they can just drive up and shoot you, or pull you out the car, put the foot on your neck, or just strangle you, and they say, "I fear for my life," and that's it. And so these are the dangers. We're living in dangerous times, and we have a dangerous activist Supreme Court, and with that 6-3 majority on the Supreme Court, they can give Donald Trump any kind of ruling that he so desires, as long as they make it look, logical, even if it doesn't make sense. I'm telling you, these are dangerous times that we are living in. And with that said, look at the fact that Joe Biden has decided to end his campaign for a second term, and he has heeded the voices of those around him that were telling him he needs to step aside and let Kamala Harris have a chance to become the President of the United States. And she has received overwhelming support. Even today, Barack and Michelle Obama have finally endorsed her, along with Nancy Pelosi. So she has received the backing of the Democratic Campaign Committee, Leadership Council. And she's hit the ground running. She's making speeches. She said she's ready to debate Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, I guess, hadn't foreseen that Kamala Harris would become the nominee. But look how God works. God works in mysterious ways. His wonders to perform. Puts his foot upon the clouds and rides up on the storm. That's an old cliche from way back yonder, but it's very fitting in these days and times. Looks like every time I sign off on this broadcast, historic things happen. The other week, Donald Trump, somebody attempted to assassinate him, and now that's under review. And last Sunday, Joe Biden decided to end his bid for a second term. And now we have the bright light, sunshine of Kamala Harris before us. And things are looking up. Things are looking good. And we need to get behind her because of the aforementioned things that I mentioned before. What's going to happen if Donald Trump gets in there? And I was looking at how effective Joe Biden was. You know, when he came in, he had to, he was under COVID-19, and he had to get the whole government turned around and start producing vaccines. Donald Trump was muddling around, couldn't get, the medical people couldn't get protective equipment. no gowns, no mask. And when Joe Biden became president, he found a way to get those gowns and masks and protective equipment to the people, the medical people, so that they could render aid. Thank you. 5 minutes, y'all. And that's how he started out dealing with the COVID-19 vaccine virus. But he got the shots into people's arms, and that was his first thing. Then he was able to give historically black colleges and universities like Southern, Grambling, Texas Southern, and all of those, Meharry College, all of those schools rather, under the Biden administration, they passed out $50 billion. Then come to find out that the state of Tennessee had been holding back the money that they were supposed to have been given to Tennessee State. And the Biden administration pulled the covers off of that. And then, of course, he appointed the first black woman to sit on the Supreme Court. Bless her heart, she's got a hard way to go now, because she's with the three. And Alito, Clarence Thomas, Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, and Neil Gorsuch, they're on that 6-3. They're in the 6, so they're doing whatever they want to do. And all Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson can do is write a dissent, like this absolute immunity thing. And then Biden tried to get student loan forgiveness, but of course the Republican Party put the kibosh on that because they make billions off of that student loan. They got to wear that student loan and follow you down into the graveyard. And if they can fool your next of kin, they'll make them pick up that payment for that student loan. And some of them student loans is way up there. And over $100,000, especially if you become a lawyer or become a doctor or a nurse. You got a huge student loan debt when you come out of college. So the system dictates that you're not going to be able to help the poor because you got to pay that student loan. And that type of thing. So then the infrastructure bill, they did get part of it passed, but Joe Manchin, who calls himself a Democrat, was able to join with, what was her last name, Sinema, and with them and the Republicans, they were able to block all of that, the bulk of that infrastructure bill. They said we don't need no infrastructure. But then with these bridges collapsing, and with these other things going on, we do need to attend to our infrastructure. And don't forget, as I close, Microsoft, Windows, crippled the whole country this week. And because the government is so invested in Microsoft that they don't have other programs and platforms to use as backup. Anyway, as I get out of here, keep the faith, keep hope alive, keep on praying, and most of all, tell somebody they got to vote, and they got to vote right. All right? And remember, if you're working on a job and they don't want to pay you, don't waste your life. Don't get trapped into living paycheck to paycheck. If they don't want to pay you what you were, don't work for them. Thank you. All right, Doc, we out of here.